Welcome to episode 7 of Charlie India Talk Sports. I'm your host, Charlie India, and as always, I really do appreciate you guys watching these things. It means a lot to me. Every time I see that little counter go up, it just makes my day. Before we get too deep into sports, or before we get into sports at all, let me take a little note, do something personal. Tomorrow, I'm recording this on Saturday, so obviously it won't be out till Sunday, which Sunday's Mother's Day. Be nice to your moms. I talked to my mom. I had decided that we weren't going to talk anymore about the motorcycle accident I was in a few weeks ago. But I talked to my mom. We haven't seen each other for a little bit since I was really messed up. So I told her, that I would do this. So Mom, look, all good. I can get some more flexibility in the arm. Still got some work to do on that. You already know the reports. We don't need to go on that on the air. But just wanted, for my mom, everything's fine. Happy Mother's Day to my mom and to mothers all over the world. Hope everything goes well for you tomorrow and enjoy the day. Guys, treat your moms right. Also, before we get too deep into it, as you can see by last week's show, I'm experimenting with some graphics and things like that. Again, monkey playing with fire is what this thing boils down to. So please forgive me if they get a little squirrely, a little sideways. Trying something new because there's a lot going on in the story sometimes that I don't want to sit and bore you with all the facts over the air. You can read them as they slide by. Those of you that can read, those of you that can't, don't worry about it. It's not really going to change that much anyway. It's more or less just me having fun. So anyway, we'll be trying with those. Forgive me if they get a little goofy, because trust me, I know that with all the facts that are going on and all the research I do for this show, but I still realize that about a half hour of me yakking nonstop is pretty much all that most people can stand. So we're going to do that. First topic of the day. Let's get into some sports. Of course, it has to be the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Let me say this first. If you didn't get that, let me say it again. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to be wrong about this more than anything I've ever been wrong about in my life. But I was right. And I was never more disappointed to be right than I have been to be right about this. As I said before, this is episode 7 of my show. On the very first episode, I told you that Mayweather is the reason why I don't buy boxing pay-per-views anymore. When the fight was signed, I told you how this was going to be something that they were going to tell you that you had to see, but you didn't have to see it. Even a week ago, I told you, tap, 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 go to the judges, Mayweather wins the fight. Look what happened. But it's not just that. The whole show was awful from start to finish. The thing started at 6 o'clock, so I figured, hey, that's going to be great. We're going to have a good undercard, some fights. He goes, that'll make up for this lousy main event that we're going to get. Nope. They started with a video of how Pacquiao built all the log cabins for the villagers in his hometown to live in, and Mayweather rode a magical house and walked down a golden brick road and became the greatest witch slayer of all, the greatest pound for pound witch slayer of all time. And then they showed the same video 3 times in a row. 6 to 8, that same video. So 8 o'clock rolls around, and they go to I don't know what to call it. It's not a stadium, the venue where they were having the fight. And there's live action from the commentators of the fight. They talk a little bit. And something, okay, good, this is going to be all right. Finally, we're getting started on this thing. They talk for about 10 minutes, and then what? We get to see the video again. You got to be kidding me. I couldn't stand it. But then, after the video, they got 9 minutes before it's 8:51. They got 9 minutes to cover here before the thing actually starts. What do? They put a clock on there, and we watch it count down. 8:51, 8:50, 8:49. Are you kidding me? $100 a pop, and the two organizations between HBO and Showtime, they can't come up with 9 minutes of something to say? They could have promoted their movies or anything. Nope. Like 24 episodes. Going the other way. I couldn't believe it. It aggravated me so much. I mean, if you email me or call me right now and said, Charlie, can you talk 9 minutes on whatever, sewing, I'm telling you, I'd fake it. I'd find a way to get 9 minutes out there. It might not all be true, but it'd be 9 minutes. But in the undercard, finally, 9 o'clock comes around. The undercard rolls around. And the undercard is Two fights. Are you kidding me? You got HBO and Showtime, the greatest boxing promotions of our time, right now, which is what our time means. I said that. And they come up with 2 fights. 2. The first fight ended when one of the boxers, did his best Tim Tebow and took a knee and waited for the ref to count to 10. And the second fight actually had a little bit of action in it, but again, it went to the judges and it was decent, but it wasn't. But 2, really 2? $100 a fight, 2. Now, as the main event started, my stepson, who dished out the money for this because I told you I refused to, jumped to the edge of his seat, clapped his in anticipation. And even though he's a Mayweather fan, that was the last time he clapped that evening. What a horrible, horrible display of futility this thing ended up being. This was basically 2 guys ripping off America in a way that makes George Clooney's Oceans 11, 12, and 13 cruise blush. Who knew it would be this easy to get away with it? Bonnie and Clyde, Al Capone, every CEO in the early 2000s are kicking themselves because they didn't know how easy it was to steal $300 million. No serious punches were thrown. Neither man was ever in the slightest bit of trouble. There was more action in the 5th round when my grandson and I stopped watching it long enough to have a thumb wrestling match. And that was more than there was in the whole fight. It was so bad that when the decision was actually announced, Pacquiao was stunned. He thought he won. How could I lose? He never hit me. He never hit me. How could I lose? Well, you didn't hit him either, brother. That's how you lost. Tap, tap, tap. Go to the judges. Mayweather wins. Now, here's where the real ripoff comes. And old Uncle Charlie's going to tell you, I'm going to save you some. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for what's coming up next. Almost immediately after the fight was finished, reports came out that Manny had a shoulder. I keep the ones I have. Manny had a shoulder injury and wasn't able to fight his fight, which of course would have had Mayweather down on the ground begging for mercy and okay. First off, if this is true, it makes it even worse. 1, it would mean Mayweather couldn't even take out a one-armed fighter. And 2, it would mean that Manny knew he was not going to be able to throw a punch and stood in the ring on purpose and they danced with each other for $300 million. But now they're telling us that because of the injury, well, we have to have this fight one more time. This time for real. Are you kidding me? We took $300 million from you and did absolutely nothing, but if you give us another $300 million, we'll do it again, and this time, it'll be for real. If you're willing to fall for this, if you have that much money that you're willing to pay this thing to see this thing again, then congratulations, you're doing really well in life. Why don't you instead go take that money, wipe your butt with it, throw it in a trash can, start a fire with it, or just throw it in the air and see what happens. That'd probably be more entertaining than the fight that you're going to play or pay for. Do not reward these guys for ripping you off once by letting them rip you off a second time. Your life just cannot be that boring. And let's put something to rest right now, Charlie India style. For the record, YouTube, the world, internet, everybody, Uncle Charlie's telling you, Floyd Mayweather is not on any level, in any way, even in the top 10 pound for pound best fighters of this or any other generation, much less best of all time. He rivals Houdini as an escape artist, and he's got the best defense since the Legion of Boom. But to be considered the best pound for pound fighter, you actually have to fight. Throw a punch. Get off my screen. Floyd, you couldn't take out a one-armed man. Now, I understand that you're a money-making machine, and what you're doing now is going to set your family up for generations. And, brother, that's a noble and good thing. Nothing against you that way. But the only way you, Floyd Mayweather, should be mentioned in the same breath with Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, is to say, Floyd Mayweather, He ain't no Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, or Sugar Ray Leonard. And a final note on this fight. Mike Tyson tweeted, okay, Mike Tyson found somebody who could spell, and they tweeted, "We waited 5 years for this." Enough said, Iron Mike. You're absolutely correct. I have a quick fun fact for you. I know you love these, says the master of the Segway. Did you know, and I have absolutely no way of proving this, but it's listed as a fact and it's on the internet, so of course it must be true, that there are only 18 minutes of actual gameplay in an average Major League Baseball game. Hey, I'm not slamming on baseball. It's on the internet. It must be true, and it's just a fact. One of the variations of the NFL channel that I watched, and my buddy Ron Mexico and I watched for the show we do on the radio last year, was one of the NFL channels that they have is a game where they show it's condensed. They condense the games down. They show every game, and it takes literally from the snap of the football to the end of the play. I mean, you're right back at the snap. It's kind of hard to keep track of unless you know football enough, but they get the whole game done in less than 30 minutes, way less sometimes, of actual gameplay. So with a pitch going 100 miles an hour, 66 feet from pitcher's mound to home plate, second. So that batting guy, I mean, if you consider the, catcher throwing the ball back and getting signals and the batter stepping out, but whatever, that's not actual gameplay. Okay, so that's what they get. So 18 minutes, I can get that. It's not even a slam on the sport. But since we're talking about baseball, Alex Rodriguez is back in the news again, but this time it's for stuff he's doing on the field as opposed to the stuff that he's done off the field, which we've been hearing about his whole career. Rodriguez blasted out home run number 660, tying him for fourth place on the Major League Baseball all-time home run leaders list with Willie Mays. Great. And then now, since then, he's blasted out another one. He is in sole possession of fourth place. Babe Ruth is in his sights. What should have been a major milestone in his career has taken what I think is a sad turn, and the reason that it's sad is that he's brought it on himself. He had a clause in his contract, did Rodriguez, that the Yankees would have paid him $6 million to get to the 660 home run milestone. However, the Yankees are not going to have to pay that, or they're not going to pay it, because they said that part of the clause was that the Yankees, would be able to use this upcoming event or the event itself as a marketing tool. Come see Alex hit 660. Be the one that catches the ball. Blah blah blah. To market the Yankees to make more money for themselves is basically what it boils down to. Cheating sports. It's all about that. But the Yankees management has decided that anything Rodriguez related is now unmarketable. Wow. As bad as that is for A-Rod, because Lord knows he needs $6 million more dollars, it's worse for baseball. For the second time in a few years, one of the most hallowed records in sports is being challenged, and once again, the world is sitting on its hands instead of cheering wildly and being caught up in the fascination with the chase. Other than his family, no one really cared when Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's record, and for the same reason that no one, not even his own team, is jumping on the A-Rod bandwagon. For a multitude of reasons, the steroids, the being a jerk to the press, the being a jerk to the fans, Barry Bonds was one of the most hated athletes of his time. And he took every ounce of the fun. I mean, most people were actually rooting against him to get the record. Not that it was don't get me wrong, Hank Aaron was great, but it wasn't that we were trying to defend that. It was just, we just hated this guy, and now he's going to be in the number one guy in the record book. And I don't know. It just took every ounce of fun out of it. And now we get a chance to witness another shot in history. And the guy that should be our champion sat out last year because of the violations to the policies of the league, substance abuse, PEDs, steroids. You know what he did. For the record, I'm not as upset about all that as most people are, because given the money, the situation, the fame, I mean, who doesn't want to be famous? They think I'm doing this, and that kind of thing. That he was, I probably would have done the same thing. So I can't fault him for that, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And in fact, I'm in the very small minority of people that don't really have a problem with that. So I get it. I get that the folks, the baseball fans are angry about it, and that now this taints their guy, taints one more guy who's going to be in the record books for a long, long time. So once again, baseball, you got a guy in a black hat who's the face of your league. My question for baseball is this: where are all the white hat guys? And why can't they get on their books? Why can't they get on board? Is cheating the only way to actually win in baseball? Now that the steroids and PED era seems to be settling down a little bit, are we going to be content with the new version of the game? Line drives and as opposed to 500-foot home runs. I don't know. That's up to you guys to determine. I'm not a baseball fan, but you tell me how it turns out for you. Okay. Something that I will be saying for the next 7 weeks or so: the NBA playoffs are in full swing. But I got to tell you, the second round has been fantastic. There is a lot of drama out there right now, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it's because I'm paying more attention because of the show or what, but I have never had this much fun watching the NBA playoffs. But before we go to the second round, let's take a quick look at the last game of round one. As you have been able to figure out, if you have eyes at all, I have the ability to watch more than one sporting event at a time. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that Saturday night because there was, even though two things were on, there was only one real sporting event, and that was Game 7 of the Spurs and the Clippers series, and it was spectacular. It was what an ending to a series. I'm going to tell you a secret, and I did that again. I'm going to tell you a secret if I get this thing worked out right. There we go. I'm going to tell you that I am undefeated. Charlie India is undefeated. Never lost a game. Never. I have been behind when the clock ran out, but never lost. And that was truly the scenario of this game. It's hard to say that what team lost. San Antonio was just behind when the clock ran out. Let's go back just a little bit more because we only do these once a week. I told you before, the Game 6 of that series was going to be one of these games that determines how we look at the Clippers for a long time. And boy, it was. The Clippers played Game 6 on the road against the reigning 5-time champion with the whole world watching, backs against the wall, win or go home, and they went in and won the game. That got my attention because this is the first time in the playoffs that the Clippers have stood up, have tried to do something. So now, with the talent they have and that behind them, they had my attention. So now up comes Game 7, and all the drama of win or go home on both teams. It's great. Again, both teams had the win or go home mentality. The Spurs, like I said, have won 5 championships, but have never repeated. One of the oddest records in sports, to be that good for that long, but not be able to put 2 of them to back to back. And they're playing against the glitz and glamour of the Clippers, regular season fan favorites, not so much in the playoffs. Everything was on the line, and boy, did these two teams deliver. It was a close game all the way through. It seemed like neither team was ahead by more than 5 or 6 points at the whole time. The game, the season, the quest for the championship, all of it came down to, as it should, in a Game 7, a last-second miracle shot that Chris Paul made over the outstretched arms of the face of the San Antonio franchise, Tim Duncan. Banks that thing in, and it goes in with 1 second left in the game, and the LA Clippers advance to the next round. Again, to say San Antonio lost, I guess, although only one team advanced, it's hard to say that anybody lost that one. Now, with this win, this makes the Clippers a team to watch now, because for the rest of the playoffs, we're going to have to be keeping an eye on it. It sets the stage for them to be a team to watch for many years to come. Like I said, the Spurs are never out until they're out, and now they're out. Wow. Kind of sound like Yogi Berra on that one. But their departure opens up a whole new realm of opportunity and possibilities for this year's championships. Okay, so now, let's go. Congratulations, Clippers, for advancing. On to the second round. In the East, Cleveland is playing, Cleveland's playing Chicago. Atlanta's playing Washington. Cleveland came out flat. They had a week-long layoff, and they're adjusting to playing without Kevin Love, who's going to be out for the rest of the season. And, man, they got it handed to them first game. They just got beat. No excuses. You just lost the game. Then LeBron did something he's not used to doing. He came out and he took a game over to get the Cavaliers a game and win 2. And let me back that up just a little bit. One of the reasons I'm such a fan of number 32 is the same reason that I think Magic Johnson was better for a team than Michael Jordan. That's right, I said it. Magic better than Jordan. We'll argue about that anytime. LeBron and Magic are about the team. They make everyone around them better. They They want the team to be involved, and that makes the team better. So even though it was only game 2, LeBron knew this was a must-win situation for them. They've already lost one on their home court. Nothing's going to change. Love's not coming back. They had a player out of suspension, so he just got hold of the game and just would not let it go. He scored 33 points. That's not so amazing. He scores 33 on a frequent basis, but he shot 29 times. That he seldom does. He's more about getting the other guys involved. But he just took it on, shot 29 times, and Cavs win and tied up the series. Game 3 was last night, and for the Bulls to win, they had to have more out of Derrick Rose than they got in the first 2 games. Although he's back, Rose isn't playing like himself. He took 20 shots in game 2 and never made it to the foul line one time. What that means is instead of going to the hole and attacking the basket or dishing out and getting his team, which is what he normally does, he's kind of stopping short, don't want the contact, pulling up, and he's just not getting, he's throwing floaters and teardrops, and that's not what they need. But when game 3 came around, Rose must have got that message. Rose dropped 30 on the Cavaliers last night, and none more important than the last one. With just a few seconds left in the game, and the score tied at 96, Rose took an inbound pass, dribbled it to the right, and threw up a Hail Mary, did not call a bank, shot that hit and won the game for the Bulls. They now lead the series 2-1. It was a close game all the way through, and this series is going to be good. I still think that Cleveland's going to find a way to pull it out, but what an amazing performance from a guy who not only me, but a lot of people have been dogging all through these playoff series. He stepped up last night. Now, does he have it in him again? We'll find out tomorrow. So let's go see how that one works. More drama in the other series. You know, and I've told you that I'm not sold on the Atlanta Hawks as a playoff team. But like fate is a 5-year-old who's only trying to help you cook dinner, that series is going to go all sideways because it's just going to. Washington took game 1 in Atlanta and really started to get my attention with their 5th win in a row in the playoffs. Washington went into the number 1 seeded team and beat them on their home court. But the fickle finger of fate reached out, tripped up John Wall, the best player on the Capitals. Yeah, look, Ron, sorry, it's not the 70s anymore. They are the Capitals now. Wall has been diagnosed with 5 fractures in his hand, and his return is uncertain. At least at the time that we're recording this, it's uncertain. With that fact in tow, the Hawks came out and won game 2 to even up the series at 1 apiece. The game was a lot closer than the final score of 106-90 because of a late run by the Hawks, but even without John, the Washington State would hang with Atlanta. So this series is the one that's baffling me because Atlanta's the number 1 seed. They should be whipping these teams pretty solid, and they're just showing us nothing. So I'm anxious to see how this one turns out. So let's go to the West. I'd rather watch Western basketball anyway. Let's go to the West. L.A. And to show you how much respect I'm giving these guys, we're just going to call them L.A. because they are now the team to beat in that town. Sorry, Lakers. L.A. is playing Houston in a series that I had high hopes for. The Clippers, fresh off that Game 7 win, rode down to Houston and took Game 1 from the Rockets. The Rockets, a team, they just looked like they just mailed it in. They just didn't care. I don't know what they thought the series started after Game 1. I don't know, but it was horrible. No excuses for losing by 16 on your home court in the playoffs, Houston. Suck it up. Oh, and by the way, you lost by 16 on your home court in the playoffs, and Chris Paul, the best player in L.A., yes, I said it, the best player in L.A., sorry, Kobe, was sitting on the bench in street clothes with a hamstring injury, and you lost by 16. Second game was odd. Had a weird feel to it the whole way through. Paul was again on the bench, and Houston scores 35 points in the first quarter, and that's more Western, running fast break go style of ball. But then the Clippers put up 41 points in the second. The third was a dud, but James Harden comes up and shows why he was running second for the MVP vote. He put up 16 points in the fourth quarter by himself and led a surge to give Houston a 6-point win. Now, Houston, you lost by 16. You needed a run by your best player, and you only won by 6. And again, best player on the team, sitting down. So the series was tied at 1. Then Game 3, again, was last night, and the Clippers got Chris Paul back, and so you're thinking good things are going to happen. CP3 back in the house. Yeah, okay. Now he had 12 points, and he had 7 assists. Okay, not bad. But the story of the game were huge nights by two other guys. J.J. Redick. Who? That's right. You know him. You love him. J.J. Redick. Hit a playoff career high of 31 points. And he couldn't miss. The guy was phenomenal. And Rivers hit for a playoff career high as well of 25, 16 of which came in a 23-3 run at the end of the third, start of the fourth. That just kind of opened up the game and everybody ran away. Now, when I said Rivers, no, Doc didn't throw on one of the old school unis and get back in the game. It was his son, Austin Rivers, that put on this show. That run turned a 6-point game into a complete total blowout, and Houston never made a run, never acted concerned. In fact, at one point, the lead went up to 32 points in the fourth quarter. And I don't know, the Clippers lead the series 2-1, and I'm a little bit surprised that LA's getting it this easy. But I'm more surprised that Houston's giving it up this easy. I don't know what's wrong with the Rockets, but I've never seen a team with no heart like this. Good players, always in the conversation at the beginning of the year and all through the year about this is their year, this is the championship. But boy, if you punch them in the mouth once, they fold like a cheap chair. So I'm anxious to see how this goes. And the biggest surprise in the second round, any round of the year, Golden State and Memphis are also locked in a 1-1 series right now. Because after being blown out in game one, and trust me, it was a blowout. The Grizzlies came back and won game two, at Golden State's gym. Mike Conley, the star guard for the Grizzlies, came back after facial surgery just a few days ago, strapped on a mask and went all Darth Vader on these guys, on the Warriors, and scored 22 points when it first came back. That, along with some stifling defense, these guys just ate them up. Held the newly crowned MVP to 7 of 19 from the field, and Memphis went on to win. And it's a win I thought they'd never see. Golden State looked so good in the first round of the playoffs, and they looked so good in the first game of this series. I thought this thing's done. Oh, we don't even, they can mail it in. But nope, Memphis stood their ground. Did what they did best, got their player back. So now I'm anxious to see if this is going to be a lot better series than I thought. So I'm just telling you, this has been fantastic. So there are 2-1 series, and the other two series are 1-1, which means that all 4 of the underdog teams have already won a game on the road. And like I told you last week, in the NBA, and I believe in any best of 7 series, no matter what the sport, the series doesn't start until the home team loses. The home team has lost. So now let's see what happens here. This has turned out to be much better than most of the NBA playoffs. I mean, there's lots of questions that are out there. Will Wall be able to play? Will Houston show me any heart at all? Can Memphis keep up that kind of defense for 3 more games? Will LeBron finally say, y'all just get out of my way, and let me take you to the next round? Like the old commercial says, it don't get no better than this. I'm loving this stuff. I was going to comment on LaShawn McCoy basically calling his coach Chip Kelly a racist, but I think I'm going to let that pass. It's not because I don't think racism is a big issue, because I do. I really, really do. But since Chip Kelly is replacing black players with other black players in a league that's 80% black players, I think I'm just going to go with Mama India's advice. She said, son, there's enough real trouble out there in the world, so don't go looking for some where there ain't none. LaShawn, you're in Buffalo now. Deal with it, brother. Just deal with it. That's going to wrap it up for 107. 108 will be coming soon. On it, we'll be talking more NBA playoffs. I get a second crack at this weekend, what I think may become my favorite MMA sport, kickboxing. And, hey, I had an old friend ask me to talk about the sport of kings. So, all right, before we go, let me ask you what you find more amazing. That my friend was actually talking about tennis when he said that, or that I have a friend at all. Let me know what you think. As always, you can get hold of me at charlie.india at yahoo.com, or you can comment on the YouTube page that you're watching now. But as always, thank you. You have no idea how much it means to me that you guys watch the show, and anything that we can do to comment on it. And just for the last time here, I'm going to make 30 minutes, just like I told you. This is Charlie India saying, get out there and play.